So thank you guys for joining this evening. And we have a fun one tonight. So this is something that, all of us at some point, if you play golf long enough, we've gone through it. So, if you've ever had any struggles in your game where struggles or challenges where, you kept on practicing, you kept on playing, and everything that you didn't give you the scoring result or the outcome that you're looking for, but you kept on putting the time and you felt like you made tremendous gains early on, and all of a sudden, like, you're putting in the same effort, same time, and it keeps on, um, and we're just not getting the exact results that we're wanting to get. Or if we're shooting a score, we might be shooting 39 or 40. We're kind of always bouncing around 39, 40, 38, 39, 40, 41. And there's, we just can't get ourselves to break through. Or, other times we may be working on specific types of shots to then lower our score. And, other shots that we've had in the past, it kind of clicked and it went, and we put in the time, and we could see like consistent traces of them getting better. And, maybe on some times or some occasions we've had like, it seemed like we worked on things forever, and we keep on putting the same kind of process and telling ourselves to commit ourselves and don't give up and all of these stories along the way. And yet we find it so difficult that just no matter how many chances or how much we try, it continues to be the same. Or maybe you see parts of your game getting better in some areas and other parts not getting better, and at the end the overall outcome is just remaining the same. And every week it's a little different. Maybe we go for a period of a few days or a week where your short game gets really good because you're working on that, and all of a sudden, right, our score stays the same. Then the next week we might find our ball striking is better, or we start hitting more solid, hitting it further, and it seems like we're going somewhere. And then at the end, like, just little things here and there just aren't clicking, and you're not, the most common thing is like, we're just not putting them together at the same time. And seeing these little fluctuations of different skills, and basically just us getting stuck on the same level that we're at. And sometimes it's difficult to get through that. And as much as we want to see the little incremental gains and see if I am hitting it better, or I'm chipping it better, or I'm playing a little bit better here, but it's hard sometimes to figure out, how do I get through and make sure like these gains are the ones that are going to matter the most and are going to get me to get my scores to go down, or get me to contend in some of the tournaments that I've been playing in. So we're gonna, chat a lot about, breaking through, and basically the title of tonight is how to blast through when you find yourself at a plateau. And if we've played enough golf, we'll always hit plateaus. So I'm gonna give you guys a frame to show you guys how to get through anytime you find yourself like putting in the time, putting in the work, and just not getting there as fast as you want. Through all the golf that I've played, there's tons and tons of times that, I did hit plateaus and I felt like it was the end of the world. Like one just, I remember more recently in recent years, excuse me, where I've been working on my wedges, right? And I was like, okay, I need to get better control of my wedges because, every time I'm inside of 100 yards, and this is probably within the last 3 years or so that I was working and decided to make a shift on my wedge game. But I wanted to find out, like, for me to take my score to a lower level, I found out a lot of my shots came because I'm just not hitting it close enough when I'm inside of 100 yards, right? I'm making just too many threes from inside of 100 yards, and I wanted for myself, I wanted to hit it closer. And as much as I could hit really good shots, I would get, like, during my rounds, some balls that would, just from 50, 60 yards that would vary in distance, that it felt like I hit it really good. And I knew it came off a little bit weird, but it was still like a good shot for me. and it might land on the front of the green, or it might land on the back of the green, right? And so my variance short and long was just pretty extreme for myself. It might have been like, at times from between 40 and 75 yards. It could have been anywhere from, and it's a pretty well struck shot, anywhere from, 40 to 50 feet in distance, 60 feet sometimes on a good shot. And I would kind of chalk it up as I just kind of misread that thing, or not mishit it, but I didn't get the right feel for what I was looking for. And so as I'm working on this, I'm working on it for, it's been a few months as I'm kind of working on there. I'm looking at, and I'm studying and talking to people about how can I control my wedges, what kind of contact from what kind of lies, how's my ball going to launch, how do I know the spin is right? And it's getting like really technical. Excuse me. And the more technical I got, it seemed like I get it, I understand it, I can hit it, but for some reason it's just, it's just not working, right? And hitting hundreds and hundreds of balls and not getting the result. And at the end of the day, what it came out to, it was, I had the right strategy, I was seeking the right advice, and at the end, it was just my mindset that I believed I could do it with the clubs that I had, not knowing for myself the club made a difference. That my wedges, because I hit so many balls in the 6 months and I had it for a year already, that my wedges were all just worn down. And I've heard it in the past, that if you have worn down wedges, that you should get new ones, because the grooves on your wedges is going to impact like how it interacts with the ball. But I thought, if I just learn the tactics, if I learn the swing tips, if I have the strategy how to do it and I can do it, it's going to be good. And what happened was I finally gave in and said, you know what, maybe I do need new wedges. Even though I love the wedges that I had, it was just coming off inconsistently off the club. And for me, it was more of a mindset shift that I went through. And I just had to believe that, it was the tool and it was in me, right? And so the moment I got brand new wedges, everything that I practiced over the last, 6-7 months, I was able to do on the golf course. And I was like, oh my goodness, if it was just that easy of changing my golf clubs, gives me the advantage to hit the shots that I want, right? But other times I can also remember is, working on my driver and trying to hit my driver as far as I can. I had tremendous mindset. I had tons of like, okay, I'm going to get it no matter what. And I've seen other people do it. I'm going to just put in my time. And, it's another like long process. I remember working on drivers had to be at least, 6 to 8 months before like I got it to where I wanted to get to, but hitting hundreds and hundreds of balls every single day. And some days it's the only club I pull out of my bag, just driver. I'd warm up with driver because I wanted to do that. And I had the mindset, and, I knew I hit it far for like my size, but I wanted to take it like next level far for myself. Like, how do I get other people that are my size hit it like way further? How do I get more speed? And I knew a little bit of the strategy, and I knew that, well, I got to swing it faster. For me to swing it faster, right? There's all these different ways, and maybe I have to hit it a certain height. And, I'm learning a little bit more of the strategy, like the overview and how to do it. And what I was missing was like the actual like details, like, okay, how do I get myself to swing it faster? How do I get myself to hit it at a certain like height? How do I get it to hit where the ball has a certain amount of spin on it, right? The fine details is what I didn't know, right? I was searching too much on the strategic side, like overly looking down. And that was what holding me back. As much as I knew, okay, I got to swing it faster, maybe I'll just swing harder. I just didn't have the tactical training in that aspect to get me in that driving to the next level. And the moment I found, the specific tactical things, go ahead and do it like this, creates more speed. And I was like, oh my gosh, did it? And it like jumped my speed overnight, right? 2-3 miles an hour, right? And then do this other thing, maybe gets you another couple miles an hour. And like after all of that practicing, right, it's that little shift in learning that little piece that kind of took me over the edge. But after going, right, 6, 7 months without seeing much gains, right? Occasionally I'd get one that went kind of far, but like never like on command. Never like I'm going to hit one and make it go this far, right? It's like I'm going to hit 50 balls and maybe like 5 or 10 of them might go there all sporadically, and I wouldn't be able to do it on purpose, right? And, you know, I also remember another time it was working on my putting, right? And I'm always trying to, you know, keep my scores down, and I have targets that I want to shoot. And, you know, this other instance, and this would be probably within the last few years too, that I knew my putting need to get better, because when I'm striking it well and I'm driving it well, the one thing that holds me from shooting like under par at any time that I'm playing well is my conversion rates in making birdie putts, and especially the ones when I'm striking it well and I'm inside 15 feet. Like the days that I line up that I felt like I did really well, like I wouldn't make any putts. I would be missing, you know, 3-footers, 5-footers, 10-footers, 12-footers, like consistently throughout the round. And, you know, I still had a good round, but that I knew that was like the one thing. And I had the mindset, I knew I wanted to do it. And I knew a lot of the tactical stuff. I knew how to stroke my putter. I remember like even growing up in junior golf, working on my putting, it was working on all these different strokes. Everybody who was better than me, I took advice from. And like some days it would go like 3 different people gave me 3 different pieces of advice, like totally like contradicting each other, but they're better than me. So like Mondays, you know, somebody would tell me to do this. Wednesday, somebody else would tell me do it like this, you know, and then the weekend somebody would give me some other advice to do it a different way. And then I'm just getting like flustered, but it's all like super tactical advice on how to swing the putter, how to like swing it with the beat of a metronome, how to put my hands on it, my grip, you know, working on my posture. And like you wouldn't believe how much like tactical putting stuff that I worked on and putting drills. And through my whole like career, my putting has like junior career and even college hasn't been like, it hasn't gotten that much better until, you know, I met a golf strategist, you know, I think it was maybe 6 years ago now, right? And he explained more of a strategic approach to putting and having me understand like how the speed and the specific speed I'm looking for. And, you know, everybody has different strategies, but this one, you know, was relevant to me. And the moment I understand like, oh my gosh, the reason why that everybody I played with, competed with, made so many putts, it was because they had this much more control over their speed, right? They made it in the edges. And I never once like considered having like really good speed. But everything was about hitting it solid, hitting it online, and, you know, grinding in the stroke. And, you know, that little piece of strategy like came in and just changed my entire philosophy and how I'm looking at like my entire putting. And then it got me to bring in all the little tactical things that was going to help me to like achieve that goal. So, you know, as we go through, we plateau and we hit like roadblocks. And like for my putting, you know, if you can believe it, that was probably a 25-year plateau of putting. Well, I want to say 25 years. I'm sure it got a little bit better from when I was in my early teens before high school. And then I just played more, so my skill set probably got a little bit better from high school. But I would say from high school through 5 years ago, my putting has remained the same. So that's a, you know, I don't even know. It's a very long plateau. And finally, like the moment like I got that strategy and it like took me over the edge, like, oh my gosh, now I putt good, you know, all the time. And the time that I don't putt good is the days that, you know, maybe some of the tactical stuff, I'm not hitting it very well. So, you know, I do want to share with you that we hit tons of places in our lives, in our golf games, especially if you play it long enough. If you've been playing, if you play it for as long as, you know, I have for the past, you know, 30 years, and 30 years competitive, well, yeah, 30 years. And you get stuck on certain things, and sometimes you get stuck for a few weeks, other times you get stuck for a few months. And like in my example with the putting, right, I got stuck for, you know, my teenage years of high school all the way through 5 years ago. So sometimes, and I kind of just thought about it. Well, I guess that's all it is. I'm putting that way. And, having that little strategic shift kind of got me over the edge. So, and what we'll be sharing tonight is different strategies on, or just a little frame that I have for you guys to take you out from when you get stuck or when you are, feeling like you're plateauing. And, how do we define sometimes when we are hitting a block where we're kind of make these gains, and then all of a sudden, like, we're putting in the time and it's not really going very much, and it's going so slow, and we just don't know if we're going forward. And sometimes we get here and it kind of moves back downwards when we're putting in the same time. So, first off is, just always think, are you, is it just a feel that you have right now that maybe it's been a couple of days or a week, or is it something that you've been super deliberate about and working through? And that's the first, challenge I always would give you guys, to think like, how do I know that I need to be checking in, pivoting? Because if you haven't yet put everything that you have into it to make it as best as it can, you could just be putting in, lack of effort, lack of time, lack of commitment on the scale that it will take to go through. And the moment you like invest yourself that way, like, it breaks through. But if you have this consistent schedule where I'm practicing every week, I'm seeing a coach every week, I'm shifting where I should to pivot and get better in these different skills, but it's still like not connecting with me. And it's been, it's been weeks, it's been months, and it's been a season, it's been a few seasons, or we're looking at it that way. Then you say like, I'm doing everything that I can, or everything that I think I can, and I'm just not quite sure like what's going on to get me through. Excuse me. So, and as we go through this, if you do have questions as we go, or if you're gonna have questions, please put that in the chat and I will get to them, at the end of our training tonight. But almost everything that I always love to start with is you need to gain clarity on where you're stuck. And a lot of times we don't really have that clarity on where we're stuck. We have this feeling that I'm trying, but it's not working. And I keep on hitting golf balls, I keep on putting, I keep on playing, and I'm just stuck. And like a lot of times, just the lack of clarity of what are you stuck from becomes the question that you need, or the solution that you need. Sometimes we just feel like we're not moving, and we just start adding more fuel, adding more like time and commitment into that fire to kind of, get everything moving faster. But it might have been going for so long, or for, a few weeks, a month, a season, and you just forget, like, what is it that you're shooting for? Like, what is it that I'm stuck from? What is that thing that I'm like, I can't get through? And, a lot of times it's more than just your score. It could be just your score, but it might be, certain shots that you're doing, or certain that accumulate to a score, or maybe it's your tournament play. You keep on playing tournaments and you perform the same, but then you come outside and you are playing really good outside in the casual setting. Then you enter a tournament or something that counts, and then all of a sudden your scores are back to normal, right? And having like very, very precise clarity on like where exactly are you stuck, and where do you want it to go? What does that breakthrough look like for you? And just spending a few minutes just to sit down and like slow everything down just for a moment, to write down in a journal and say like, man, I've been working on this for a long time. And sometimes, a lot of times, even for myself, I forget what it is that I'm working for. I would be, doing a ton of work, ton of stuff, and super productive feeling. And at the end, when I look at all the different things that I'm doing, I would look back and say, wow, I don't even know why I did half of these things, but it made me feel good in the moment because I felt like I was moving forward, but the result wasn't coming. So, spend some time to find, that clarity that you want on, where are you actually stuck, and what does that next level look like? And, if you have something that's super clear that you're looking at, then it's so much easier to figure out like the skills that you need to get you from where you're at to that next level. as we go down, we see mindset, strategy, and tactics. So this is, I kind of went over a little bit as we started in this one here. And the more golf you play, you know, we often hear golf is such a mental game, right? So the moment we start not playing well or playing lower than our expectations, and you know, and we're stuck there for a long time, and so, well, I can practice really good, I hit it on the driving range, but I play this way, right? And then I put more time, I get my skills up, but then I continue to play this way. Or, you know, I do it only under certain situations, right? We kind of always default to, right? It's a mindset, it's a mental thing that I got to get more confidence, I got to believe in myself, you know, I got to breathe, I got to get some motion, I got to get something to get me, you know, excuse me, get me back into like a confident thing so I can produce it out there. But, you know, to perform at a really high level and to get through anywhere you're stuck, it's not just your mindset, you know, it's your mindset, your strategy, and the tactics that you have. It's never like one thing alone, right? They all work together. And if I can help illustrate my version of how this works, or how it would make the most sense for everybody, is we kind of look at it in a view that starts in a hierarchy, starting from the mindset and going down to the tactics. So actually, never did this before, but I'm going to do my best to illustrate this just to show you what I mean, to give a better example. So excuse me here if I take a minute or so, because I was going to explain it to you guys, but I feel like if I draw this thing out, you might see it a little bit better. So if we think of our mindset, strategy, and our tactics as a little funnel that kind of goes down like this, we would say your mindset is the driver of everything. So your mindset sets the pace for everything to come. So you could have the best strategy in the world, excuse me, best strategy in the world, but if you don't have the mindset behind it to give you the confidence, the belief in yourself, the belief that you can do it, you could have world-class information in the strategy and the tactics, and you won't be able to deliver or won't be able to take action on that. You know, when you do hear, you know, our mental game is 90% of the game, or some places, you know, 99%, right? And I think it gets a little bit, you know, misinterpreted that if I just think better, I play better, because the scale to mental game to skill sets, there's one of the top sports psychologists, Dr. Rick Jensen, he kind of explains it best, right? He explains it where, think of mental game to skills as a sliding scale. So if you're looking at the top players in the world, like LPGA, PGA Tour players, they have the best strategy and tactics in the world. So then their mindset covers most of it, right? 99% mindset and mental game that kind of prevents them from going. But you take somebody that is playing golf for the first time, right? We're going to say, you can believe all you want that you're going to get it in the hole, but if you don't have that skill set and you've never swung it, skills becomes the big bulk. So it might be 99% skills with a 1% mental game, right? So it's kind of this sliding scale of the actual results. But as we look at it in this funnel, right, your mindset doesn't get you to play better, but it drives all of the actions, right? So in this illustration, we're going to say like your mindset covers most of it, and not in terms of you like think better, I'm going to hit it in the hole, or think I'm going to hit it in the center of the club face, and I will. But your mindset drives your actions to then, you know, give you the strategy and execute the strategy that you're looking for. So if we have our strategy is going to be where it's going to be like overview, right? If my mindset is what's giving me confidence to like actually learn something, be open, consider a different view, our strategy is going to be closer to the technical side. So for example, if we go to that putting example that kind of blew my mind 5 years ago when I met one of these golf strategists and kind of just explained more theory behind it, right? I knew a ton of like how to swing the putter, how to make the putter roll, how to hit in the center of the club face, what like the putting swing should look like depending on like your posture and all this kind of stuff, because that's kind of what my background was, right? I trained in learning the golf swing and learning how to play in the early parts, right? Learning the more tactical approach. But the strategy is like the big overview, right? The strategy of putting would be like, think about putting as the goal of putting is to hit it into the hole, right? If you never understand like that overview, it doesn't matter like what you're working on and how to swing it, you'll find you just won't understand how to play the game, right? And I'll share with you a kind of funny story. We had a student in the past, a few years ago, and we just took it for granted that we knew everybody knew that to play golf, you got to hit it in the lowest shots possible, right? So he comes and plays with us for the first time, and we take him on the course, and we play from these abbreviated tees. But I can't remember exactly what he shot, but I want to say his first round he played, and it's from just off the edge of the green, 25 yards. He must have shot, I think, in the upper 40s, 48, 49-ish for the first time on the golf course. And it's like, wow, that's pretty good for his first time, right? And it comes down to like 2 or 3 weeks later on his second 9 holes that he's playing with us. He goes on, he's putting it better in class, and he gets out and he turns in his card and he shoots, I want to say it was like 70 or 68 or 70 shots for 9 holes. And we're like, holy smokes, what just happened, right? Because, in class, he puts it closest to the hole all the time. He hits the targets, he gets it in, and he just didn't quite. We never explained to him the strategy of playing the game. And he came from every other sports where the highest score wins the game. And, we hear people joking all the time, but it's never really happened to us that we joke, yeah, you want to get lower and, versus higher and everything else. But he actually thought making it in more shots was how you win the game. And when he gets it close, right, how much control he has his ball before he actually hits it into the hole. So just kind of getting it closer and closer without actually hitting it in. And that was a skill that he was trying to develop. And so when we look back at strategy, the strategy of just putting the ball or playing golf is like, you got to get the ball in the hole first. It doesn't matter if you misinterpret that part, then it doesn't matter all like the swing drills or how to hit it far and putting it and getting the tactical stuff, right? It needs to align with your strategy. If your strategy is, to hit the ball further to lower your score, then that's going to be the driving force behind like the things that you're going to do. So strategy, think of it as like overview, looking upwards down at a high level on just what am I trying to accomplish and what's the goal that I'm trying to get here, right? And once we have the strategy, then I'll put in a different color here. Way at the bottom is where we drive in our tactics. That is the swing drills that we're doing, right? Well, get your posture, hold the club a certain way, take it back right here. Make sure you swing the club in this direction. Make sure you rotate your back. All of that little swing drills that everybody's telling us, that is the tactics, right? That's the how-to, the actual step-by-step on what you're gonna have to do. Turn the club face this way. Your club face is pointing that way, right? Take your putter and swing it closer to the ground in this manner. Make it look like this kind of arc. And so when we look at that, all of the how-to, the swing drills, everything that advice that we typically think to give are always like in this tactical side. And so one of the biggest things as we get into this category is most of us, I don't want to say all of us, but most of us like dive into like, I just want to learn how to do it. But we forget that, does it fit into the strategy of what I'm trying to achieve overall? And also, do I even have the mindset to make sure I can push this strategy and commit to this thing all the way through? So then all I'm doing is rotating the tactics to get to the strategy. My mindset's going to keep everything here where, and keep it pushing down where, it doesn't matter what happens. I understand the strategy, and then I'm changing the tactics instead of saying like, well, doesn't work today and probably won't work for me. That's kind of where I was with putting, right? I kind of just gave up and just, well, I just settled with what my putting was, and it's just, well, I'm just not going to make that many putts, and I'll get lucky sometimes and shoot really low scores, but won't be on purpose, right? And having that mindset, push it away where I just, forget about the strategies, work just a few things on my tactics to just keep me in play. And so think about like this little mindset, strategy, and tactical approach this way, because you need all three to get yourself going. And a lot of times you're just searching for what's missing, right? Oftentimes we might have like in that, initial story where it was working on my wedges and I'm trying to gain like my distance control for my approach wedges. And it was more of a mindset thing that I stuck to the strategy. I did all the tactics, but I didn't want to believe that it would be my clubs, right? As much as I've talked to people, seen videos here saying like, make sure your clubs are clean, make sure you have sharp grooves, make sure this, like it never clicked to me. And it says like, no, that's just like a little cover. Like my mind was telling me that, yes, it would help, but it doesn't mean I can't do it. If I can do it with my strategy and tactics, then my equipment helps, right? It will take me to another level. And I had that belief. And the moment I shifted that, he's like, you know what? It might be my clubs. It's probably my clubs. I'm going to go buy a new wedge. Right. And it was like immediate the moment I got that wedge in it. And it was like night and day. And I couldn't believe what happened. Right. And other times, working on, my driver, right. I had the mindset, right. I knew like, I just want to hit it further. And I worked so hard and put in all the time. There was nothing that was going to pull me away because I knew, one, if I hit it further, it would help me shoot lower scores. But two, I guess something I always wanted to do, right. I always wanted to hit it further. And I always wanted to hit it far. Growing up, we weren't very big, but we found ways to hit it far. And around most of our peers, like I hit it pretty far, but there was like the select few, like a couple of people that were actually the people that were better than me always hit it further than me, right? So I'm always chasing like, oh, if I just hit it further too, right? Every single person that I couldn't beat always hit it further than me. All right, so that mindset goes in. So I was like strong, and I was like, there's no ways I'm going to figure out how to hit it solid. People smaller than me are hitting it further than me, right? And, with what I knew, with the strategy that I knew all the tactics on like, how can I make it go faster? How can I, create different shapes? How can I hit it further? But I just had the wrong strategy, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have the wrong strategy. I had the right strategy on how to launch it, how to get the speed up, and how to keep the spin down, make the ball shape a certain way. I just didn't know for myself what the right tactics were. I was using like old swing drills that I had, or old swing things that got me to where I'm at. And the moment I learned other swing tips and swing maneuvers and how to actually leverage clubs faster in like totally like wild motions, that I be able to implement some of the and get closer to the strategies and hit some of the goals that I wanted to hit in my driving distance, right? And then the opposite would be going back to that putting example where, I always wanted to have I had a really good mindset. I wanted to putt, and it took me years before I just said, I'm going to settle. But in the meantime, I want to putt good. I was going through every single like putting tip, grip change, cross hand, split grip. I mean, pace of my swing, everything you can imagine from people that are actually performing well using those things. And just my strategy was wrong, right? 5 years ago, I met strategists, blew my mind open with a concept of putting. And then now every tactic that I do, every swing drill I do reflects directly back to the strategy. So, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on that section, but to me, it's such a huge section because we need all three of these to get yourself out of this plateau, even just to get the results that we want. And a lot of times, depending on the areas, we tend to have stronger mindsets around certain aspects of our game, stronger strategies around certain aspects of our game, stronger like tactical approaches around different aspects. But knowing what's missing in that big piece to get you through is going to be huge. Is it my self-talk? Is my mindset that is keeping me from, you know, doing the strategy and the tactics that I know? Or, you know, maybe it's learning a different approach to how to get the ball in the hole, or how to hit my wedges, or how to hit these putts. Or maybe, you know, the drills that I'm using don't align with the strategy that I have, right? The people that I got it for, you know, I came up with a strategy and they just don't work, and finding like which combination works and what is working. And a lot of times it's just one little piece that's missing that gets you to make that shift, right? It's getting you to believe that you can do it, right? To then execute the rest and put in the time, or learning a new strategy because you have the rest. So going through that and figuring out what's missing in the thing that's holding you back. Or maybe it's just all three of them. You got to just reshape everything and get it all going, right? When you sit down and think about it, you'll get to know and figure out where you stand there. Once you kind of have the first two and now you're starting to make a move, right? It's, what are you measuring, right? We always need to know, am I getting better at the end of the day? Am I getting better at the end of the week? Am I getting better at the end of the month, at the end of the season, at the end of the year? Where you have to have measuring points to know if you're going forward, staying there, or going backwards. A lot of times score is not enough. Excuse me. Because when we look at scores takes such a long time to shift in scores, especially like if you're stuck at a score for so long, right? Think about what you're measuring, because your scores may take weeks, months, years, depending on the level that you're at. You know, in the beginning, if you're just starting off, right, any kind of like tactic and strategy gives you like tremendous gains on scores. But eventually your skill set catches up to the amount of time that you have. And then all of a sudden you have to then reshape these things, because now your strategy or tactic or mindset doesn't fit that next level. So what keeps you going is figuring out for yourself, what do I need to measure that gives me that sense of accomplishment of going forward or backwards at the end of my day, week, month, year, right? Is it, you know, is it a mindset thing? Whereas was I intentional today? On a scale of 1 to 10 today, what did that look like? Right? You can even go with your strategy. Did I commit to my strategy? Right? Was I intentional thinking that through? Was I, you know, in the moment hitting all of these drills, right? And rating yourself there on a daily basis. Even hitting doing little skills tests every day, right? That compound over the week, and give yourself little end of the day tests on skills. If you're working on, you know, solid contact, putting face tape or spraying your club, just seeing where you're hitting it out of 10 balls at the end of each session, right? Something that gives you a baseline of where you're at the end of the day. So when we can always look back at the end of the week or month, what did that compounded effort look like, right? Did it look like it's going up and going forward, or does it look like it's not even moving or going backwards? Because once you see those patterns, right, your ability to measure and revisit, and then be able to take those things and pivot when you need to, when you're not going anywhere, you're going down, right? Sometimes then it's revisiting back to 2, switching out the mindset, the strategy, or the tactics to get what you're getting from what you're measuring all the time, right? As we go down further, you know, as we start to make this progress, you know, also looking at your time. So I put here for 4 is audit your time. And, you know, what that means is, where are you spending your time? Are you spending your time in, you know, an area just to maintain your game? Or are you if you're just showing up, you're probably not even maintaining, you're going backwards, right? If you're working on the things that you're already good at and just keep on doing the same thing, that's kind of maintenance. Or you're working on things that, you know, are going to better your game, right? The future value of your game. So this one I will also give you a little illustration because this one I actually was thinking about for you guys. So think about how we spend our time. And if we say we just show up, and that would be just showing up to practice, just showing up to play with no real intention. I just show up and go through the motions. That equals you are moving backwards, right? If you then say, work on same stuff that you're good at. So that would be like the same drills, the same things that you're constant that got you to where you're at, and you just keep on doing that, and you have also you need intention. Right, and you need intention. That equals staying the same, right? So you're not moving up or down, you're just maintaining. And finally, if you're working on any future, I call it future value. That would be anything, that would be anything that you're working on to improve where you're currently at, taking a skill set and making it better, right? So if you're already a good driver of the golf ball, it would be working on a specific skill set to make your driving even better, whether it would be working a specific skill set or drill that gets you to hit it straighter and more narrow like this, or get you to hit it further, right? And be able to do one of those two things, right? And if you do something like that, that would be taking yourself up, right? If you're trying to break through and get through your plateaus or make huge gains, you need to be spending most of your time in this area here with also time there and no time there. So if I drew, when I say audit your time, you can easily do that by creating a little pie chart. And if we were to kind of see, this is 100% of the pie. If, for example, we work 100% just on future value, that means we're only focusing on like one or two key pieces of your golf game. That means all of this stuff, all the stuff that you're already good at goes down because we're not even visiting that, right? And you're working on just one component, you're never showing up. But you do need a blend of this, none of that. So when you look at like out of my entire, you can do it for your day, your entire week, your entire month, but do like an audit every so often just to see what it looks like. You can do it right now to see like the last, 7 days, or if you remember a lot, like the last 30 days gives you a better benchmark. But, for those of you who don't know and, forget about practice sometimes, do the last 7 days. And think, out of all the time that I spent, how much time did I spend on, maintenance, just showing up, and future value? And let's just say and it looks something like this, all right? If we spent, we'll go something like this. If you're a pretty deliberate player and you're good, this would be maintenance. And then if we get something like this, this is just showing up. And this would be future value. Then it gives you, this is kind of a typical pie of a lot of us that are struggling with plateauing. We're spending tons of time in maintenance, we're also spending tons of time just showing up because we've been going through the motions for so long, and very, very little time in our future value and actually working on the thing that's going to get us to where we want to get to. If I were to put like a metrics behind this, what this might look like is you go and practice for, let's just say you went to practice for the day and you practice for 4 hours. If you spent 4 hours, sorry, 2 hours in maintenance, 1.75 hours on just showing up, and that's kind of all the in-between times, and you just spend, what's 0.25? 0.25 on just future value, and that would be like I worked on this drill just for 10 minutes, right? And then I went back to what's comfortable and I wanted to get this other thing going, right? Go back to maintenance, or I got distracted, right? It's never like I'm going 2 hours just on maintenance, 2 hours just on showing, or hour 1.75 hours and just showing up, and 0.25 on just future value. It's like a accumulation of like what's going on in between, where you might start off with maintenance and you might jump into future value for like a few minutes, and then we get distracted where we're just showing up, where maybe we start listening to music or we start talking to our friends as we're thinking we're working on this, but we're just showing up because we're not intentional, right? And then it kind of leads into like, oh, getting back into maintenance because I want to start hitting it good. Oh, I got to work on this, and you start going another 3, 5, 7 minutes before it gets tough, or you get tired or something happens, and then you start drifting back off into just showing up. And so that's kind of what this cycle looks like, right? If you want to make changes, you have to be super intentional with your time, right? And this is just kind of looking at one day, right? You want to make sure that you have a good chunk of maintenance depending on your struggle, right? There's no like perfect formula, right? Everybody's going to have some section of just showing up, and that's just part of it, right? We can't just focus the entire time, right? We're going to build in breaks in our time where we are just showing up. We are having fun. We're messing around, right? And so, but you want to be able to kind of keep the maintenance, right? And whatever ratio that you see, but the maintenance and the future value need to far exceed your just showing up time. And depending on, the scale of where you're at, sometimes it requires a much larger future value than maintenance time, right? Depending on the player. But you definitely need to be showing up most of your time in these two areas here, your maintenance stuff and your future value. If you never work on this future value stuff, then you're never getting yourself to like that next level. And that's where plateaus start, because we get that productivity feel like, well, I keep on like doing the stuff that I'm doing, but I'm not getting better, or I'm not getting better as fast because we're stuck just doing the maintenance stuff. So diagram out like how are you spending your time, and do an audit of your time, because this gives you a really, really good illustration of what it looks like. And it could show you exactly why you've been stuck at any point in your career or any part of your golf game for any amount of time. So as we finally come back to this one, it's once we kind of have, this is kind of giving you big picture stuff of, well, starting big picture, but then giving you the clarity and like where are you stuck, what do you need, figuring out, is it mindset, strategy, tactics, understanding like the whole overview of that. But once you get through all of this, now you have such a good plan of where you're spending your time, what are you working on, where are you stuck, what do you need to measure, that you'll come up with an entirely different practice plan and training plan, playing plan that you had. So it's never just going and saying, well, I've been doing the stuff that I've been doing and I practice really hard. Like when we say you got to take shifts and pivots, like you have to actually reshape your entire plan depending on the results that you're getting. If you're getting like massive results and you're seeing it go, you're going to keep that same plan until you hit like a stopping point, right? And then as you're doing this, right, you're reshaping everything. And so like the plan that you have, the training plan, all of this stuff, evolves as you start getting better. There's no like one perfect plan that you'll say, this is what gets me to the end, right? Your plan is the one thing that's always developing, always changing, depending on your skill sets, how they improve. And sometimes, we go through up and downs and emotions. You have to reshape your plan, right? Sometimes it's reshaping around your mindset, right? Because sometimes we just have these moments where we're not playing very well, or we're hitting it, we're struggling, and then it escalates into like stuff that's coming in from my social life, from my school, from everywhere else, that's pulling me and making that even like more stressful, right? Reshaping your plan around mindset. Sometimes it's reshaping around like the strategy. I didn't know how, or the picture of like how I needed to get to where I needed to my goal. Right? And maybe it's reshaping with different little drills and tactics because your mindset's good in your strategy. But if you're running through this all the time, right, consistently, then it gives you the least likely chance to hit plateaus for a really long time. Typically, by the time you hit, you notice, oh my gosh, I've been spending so much time on this. It's been already weeks and months, right? If you're going through something like this, at least every month, and just kind of going back, right? There's something that even a little bit stuck, right? Right? You kind of make these shifts along the way. If you're measuring stuff every day, and giving yourself a value at the end of the day to see if you're getting better, or if you're staying there, right? You're able to make shifts on the weekly sessions as opposed to waiting for the month, 2 months, the season to end to then totally revamp everything. Excuse me. So as we, sum this thing up for the evening, how do we blast through when you find yourself at a plateau? I hope this helped everybody. It's something that is really exciting to me, and thinking about all the numerous times that I got stuck in certain areas, and what it took me to get through, and some took me forever and years, and others, I got through just in days and weeks to kind of make little breakthroughs. They're all at different paces, but use this little frame here just to put yourself back into perspective of where are you now and how are you going to get to where you're going to get to, right? And if you do that, then you'll find yourself getting through any kind of roadblocks, any kind of plateaus where you feel like you're not getting there as fast as you want, right? You'll find the solution that you're looking for within one of these steps. So the one thing that you want to do before you end this evening is always, spend some time, 10-15 minutes in your journals tonight, just jotting down, the one thing that resonates with you out of all of these things. Or what do you think you're missing, right? Find the one thing that serves you right now, and spend 10 to 15 minutes on that, just to go a little bit deeper, to give yourself some momentum for tomorrow, right? And then tomorrow you can work on like creating your entire plan. If anything, one of my favorite things that always gets me out is going to like clarity. If I'm ever stuck at all, it's because I'm not clear on where I want to get to, and I'm not clear on where I'm at right now. Right. So my personal go-to all the time is I'll always go to clarity, because that helps me get through this mindset and everything else right here, or even anything that I'm doing in my life. It gets me to get what I need faster, because it gets me to see clear pictures on like where I want to go and where I need to go. So for me, clarity. For you guys, find the one thing that you feel that resonates with you most, one thing that you might be missing, one thing that you can see immediate results from, and just dive deep into that. After kind of talking about all of this, and we chat a little bit about it on this page here, the most common thing that we all do when we get stuck, no matter what, is we always go to tactics. We always go to the swing drill. We always look for the one little swing tip that's going to be that magic swing tip that transforms our entire game. And yes, they come along from time to time, and we do get them, but what we'll find out is that one magic tactical move, swing tip that you get never lasts forever. So they may get you through the day, may get you through the week, the month, but if you don't understand like this stuff here, the mindset and the strategy and how it drives you to the tactics. So when you do the tactical stuff, it's in alignment with all of this stuff, your strategy and your mindset, right? Then you're never confused on what swing tips, tactical move that you should be working on. And, far too often I see players dive directly into like, how am I swinging? Can you watch my swing? What am I doing? Before even asking like, this is what I'm actually trying to do. Like this, I want my ball to do this, as opposed to, can you watch me hit this one? Right. And my question is like, what am I looking for? What are you trying to do? Can you see if I'm coming like this on my swing or taking it back like this? Right. If I don't know what the strategic like purpose is of what they're trying to do, doesn't matter what they're doing here, I'm not going to be able to help them. And if they don't know, if I'm not able to help them from the outside because I don't know, and if they don't know, then 100% they're not going to be able to help themselves with any kind of tactical advice, because they'll never be in alignment. And if they do find something, it's going to be luckily in alignment, but then the moment it wears off after a day, a month, we've all had those, like, I want to feel this, I take it back here and it works, right? And you come back the next day, oh, I want to just do this, and all of a sudden that one thing that made the most sense is no longer there, right? And that's kind of the whole part of like, we dive into tactics far too early. So most common thing is, we default to this, right? Default to one of these things, make sure our mindset's strong, make sure we're on the same page of what we want to do, make sure we have the right strategy, and then we search for the tactics that are in line. Thank you guys all for joining, and we'll see you at the next one. Have a good night.